So, just looking at the sort of fallout of it, there seems to be three major takeaways. One is there seems to be consensus that Keir Starmer has royally fumbled his first 100 days in office. You just had a landslide win. You've got a majority, which means you can change the country for the better. And unfortunately, you've been embroiled in all these random scandals and leaks. And so what would you say he's achieved in his first 100 days? It's really hard to point to anything. So here's my three top takeaways. One is, this is a funny one. We'll start with the funny one first. It seems as though he struggles, riding the audience, as it's called. So in public speaking, in speeches, there's this thing that you have to do, which is quite hard to do sometimes, and it's called riding the wave. So when you're speaking to an audience, they're shouting, they're clapping, they're happy, whatever it is, you have to work out how to ride it so as to still get your speech across, but also allow them to kind of clap and shout and stuff like that. And anytime a crowd or an audience shouts, Keir Starmer seems to forget how to speak English. He was talking about a ceasefire and the importance of releasing hostages. And here's what Keir Starmer said.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages. The hostages.
I'm sorry. I know it's a serious situation, but either he didn't have lunch, or again, he just doesn't have that sauce, sorry, I'm talking about sauces, they talk about sausages. He just doesn't have that flair to really carry the audience. Here he is talking about, we need sausages. Oh gosh, it was a mess. But away from that, to more substantive things, it seems like he's been embarrassed because the unions during the party conference, this is a vote they had on the last day of the conference, they won. It's a non-binding vote, binding vote, but they still won it, calling for Labour to scrap the winter fuel allowance cut. So you'll note that to balance the country's economy, to make hard decisions, to stabilise our finances, Keir Starmer had said that he was going to be cutting the winter fuel allowance, or at least changing how it's currently being sort of given out. So it's not going to be given out to everybody. Instead, it will be means tested. If you're below a certain threshold or above a certain threshold, you won't get it anymore, etc., etc., etc. The unions just want to vote, and the vote says they wanted it to be returned, to be reinstated. Right now, the motion cuts for the cuts to be reversed, and again, it's non-Biden, so they can't force Keir Starmer to do that. But it's definitely a massive blow to the Labour leadership, because you've got your core grassroots supporters winning a vote saying that the direction of travel you're going is essentially wrong. You would expect at this stage Keir Starmer to be winning votes right, left and centre, everyone to be really excited about where he's taking the country. And even now, his most red supporters think he's going in the wrong direction. That seems to be a massive takeaway as well. So on one hand, you have him fumbling his first 100 days in power. On the second hand, you have him losing votes. At conference, the unions voted against the cuts that he's planning to bring in. And the third thing for me is messaging. He's totally messed up messaging. Rachel Reeves at conference has to tell people that we're not going back to austerity. If your positive message to the country is that we're not returning to austerity, you've messed up. There's no claim. I mean, there was one odd picture put out of Rachel Reeves on Twitter saying, I will rebuild Britain. But away from that, in terms of, the actual messaging, they're saying, we're not going to cut this. Where they're having to defend cuts. They're having to defend what they're not doing. And whilst they're defending and trying to, digging their heels into the trenches about what they're not doing, what they're not doing is telling us where they're taking us, what a Labour government means. Because this is my big issue with Keir Starmer, he lacks a political philosophy. This is a man who is so technocratic that he can't articulate any cogent, kind of clear sense of here's where we're going. And so what he's left doing at a party conference after a seismic victory is defending what he's not doing and having people, because of voting against his decisions and just fumbling the messaging, fumbling what he can. I mean, I can rant on this forever, but it's a real shame, I think, that in this time where it's all up for grabs, you've decimated the party of the opposition, you are in such a commanding position, he still lacks a political philosophy, he still lacks any compelling vision, and his chorus voters can see that. So that seems to be the takeaway. But let me know, what was your top moment from this party conference? Did you watch it? Did you not watch it? What would you like to see more from Keir Starmer? I would love to know what you think in the comment section.